Here's the wrecked R6. This thing is showroom quality right now. It did not start out like this at all though, so let's go ahead and hop on the bike, go for a little ride, and let you guys know what happened to this bike and how we got to this part here where it looks this good, like it was just made yesterday. I'm super excited to let you guys know about this, so let's go ahead and get moving on this thing. Alright, so the biggest catch on this bike is it's not a rebuilt title. The guy that owned this before me never put it through insurance or anything, so it's got a clean title, which is the biggest thing, the biggest pro of this bike here. When I ended up bringing this thing home, it was nothing much more other than like a rolling chassis with a motor. It had like no bars, no foot pegs. The forks were damaged. But the good news is that the bike, when it was purchased, came with everything that I needed. It was a big, huge score on this thing. I can actually do a breakdown of the cost to get this thing back on the road and running at the end of the video. But with that being said, the bike came with everything that I needed to put it back together. The kicker was it wasn't running when I got it, so I spent most of my time trying to get this bike running before I even thought about putting it back together. When I was trying to get it to run, you know, I got it together enough with the tank on. With the tank on, you know, you put gas in, you try to start it, it would crank, wouldn't fire. So my thought was, I go, it's got fuel, I can hear the fuel pump running, let's try to see if we have spark. I checked the spark plugs, they're good. Coil packs, not good. I put the bike in diagnostic mode, it was like misfire cylinder 3. So I replaced the coil packs, bike starts, bike runs, but not good. It would run, it would idle at like 200 RPM, blah blah blah. I give it gas, it would misfire like I was two-stepping. It was a headache, and I couldn't figure it out. It was really hard to figure out, but eventually I came to the conclusion. I was like, well, if it's running, it's got spark and everything. It's got air, there's air in the air, you know? So I was like, it's gotta be fuel. So I replaced the fuel pump and the bike runs like a dream. It was perfect. So then I get to swapping the parts out. You know, you put the bars on, the forks on, get the rear sets on, you get all these accessories up here on for a kill switch, horn, lights. Get the bike together. It came with everything I needed but plastics, so I got it mostly together except for plastics. Took it for a ride and it rips. Dude, I love this bike. I see why everyone's a 600 fan, because these R6s are pretty nice. The bike runs so good. I mean, it's not optimal weather today to go out and ride, but I really wanted to get this video made for you guys. But that's the history on the bike. Overall, it was a really good deal for this bike. It gets me around, it's very reliable, it handles great. It's brand new off the showroom floor. Cosmetically, beautiful. Mechanically, beautiful. The bike runs, rips, rides good. The only other headache that I had with this bike was that it needed a clutch. Not like 1,000 miles after I got the bike. I was getting on it a little bit and it was slipping. So I decided, I was like, all right, I'll get a clutch done. Which honestly wasn't that bad since I did it myself. But overall, if you were to buy a wrecked bike, it's not always a bad deal. It has pros and cons. In my case, I was very, very, very fortunate that I got this good of a deal. I mean, the bike came with everything that it needed. It was like putting a Lego set together. I've had bikes apart and together so often that it was just a no-brainer for me. The biggest hurdle was getting it running, but my thought process was that if the bike ran when he crashed it, it should be mechanically sound. He just had it maintained. He had all the paperwork from Yamaha. So to me, it was just like a no-brainer deal. Rebuilt bikes can be scary though, because if they got frame damage, like they were hit, like if I ran into the back of this truck, that truck's not going anywhere. This bike's gonna just get absolutely demolished. So you got to look to see the frame's good. The neck is the biggest thing that goes on these bikes. They'll crack, and then it's just a big safety risk, because then you're riding around on a crack. The crack gets bigger, it breaks, it causes you to crash, and just a bike can be replaced, but you can't. So there's a lot of factors that take into buying a rebuilt bike, but in my case, this bike's so good. So I mean, moving forward with a bike like this that's been rebuilt, it looks good, it rides good. This bike's a 2014, so I mean it's fairly new for the year that we're in now. It's 2025. Everything's new. I mean, the front forks are new, the bars are new, levers, master cylinder, brakes. I mean, everything on it other than the frame is new. The frame and the motor, but the motor was maintained by Yamaha just before I bought it. Like when I took this bike home, all the bars were bent, all of these controls were gone. Like, it wasn't good. I mean, I could put a video up, actually. I have videos of the bike coming by showing you the bent bars. All this is missing. The plastics are gone, the seat's off, the tank's off. Everything that's supposed to be on the bike is off of the bike, and it's all broken. But I mean, I can show you too, it came with almost virtually everything I needed to replace, except for the plastics. So once I got it running, I ordered the plastics. I had to wait for them to come in. That was like the longest 2 weeks of my life, checking the order checking the order status, seeing where they're at. They came from overseas. But the question is how much did I get into this bike for? I bought the bike itself for 3,500 bucks, but it came with all the parts that I needed. The forks that were damaged weren't actually damaged. It was, they still operated properly. It was just one of the mounting arms for the front fender were broken. And I made that very clear, because I did sell a lot of the stuff that I didn't use on this bike. Like the old master cylinder, I sold the old front forks on Facebook Marketplace. So I did end up selling about $500-600 off of this bike, bringing the total down to, you know, $3,000, which for an R6, if you know the market already, is really cheap. I did have to buy fairings for about 600 bucks, so we're back up to 3,600 bucks. But to get into a perfectly running, well-maintained bike for 3,600 bucks, you really can't complain. I mean, it's got a clean title. It does have a good amount of miles on it. I think I'm at like 36,000, but the guy that owned it before me was very meticulous about maintaining his bike, so it's a very good deal. If you come across a deal like that, I mean, it's really hard to pass up. Facebook Marketplace isn't really the best place to find a deal, but you can find deals like this where it needs a fuel pump, or it was laid down and they're afraid of it and they just really want to get rid of it. I mean, there are deals out there. They say you shouldn't start on a 600. I started on a 600 when I was 13 years old. I've been racing for over 10 years now. It really just comes down to self-discipline. If you start, I would really recommend, if you're not comfortable riding a bike, starting on a 400 or a 300. But you will outgrow that bike's horsepower very quickly. I'm not going to say you're going to outgrow the bike itself, because I race Moto 3, which is 300s, 400s, and just because you have a fast bike doesn't mean you can ride it fast. The smaller bikes hold more speed in the corners. So, I mean, I beat 600s on my 300 all the time just because they're inexperienced riders. Not dissing on them or anything, just saying that they have less experience than I do on the track. And it all just comes down to a comfort thing and knowing, like, feel on the bike, if the front's slipping, the rear slipping, suspension setup. We can get into that into another video, but back on track, I mean, if you're looking to get into a bike and it's rebuilt, it could be a good deal, it could not be. You just gotta take into consideration if how it was wrecked. I mean, the big major thing, if it's wrecked, is frame damage. You know, you check the frame, you stand behind the bike, you can see like if it's straight or if it looks like it's bent, you'll see it. I mean, it's quite obvious. And the main point to look at is the neck up here. But overall, owning a rebuild bike, there's not a problem with it at all. It does make it harder to sell in the future if you want to get rid of it if it has a rebuild title. I have a clean title, but if your bike does have a rebuild title and you don't want to keep it forever, say you get into that 300 or that 400 and has a rebuild title, it's going to be much harder to sell than something with a clean title. I will have more content coming out soon on all kinds of topics relating to motorcycles. I mean, it's a big passion of mine, so I would like to grow the channel, help you guys out. A big goal of mine is to get enough of us together to run a track weekend. I can have coaches there. I have plenty of connections that way. It's just getting a big enough group to want to go. Yeah, so thank you for watching the video. That's pretty much everything you need to know about this bike and about rebuild bikes in general. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.